The Joe Rogan Experience.
Everything, all motions expressed in waves.
Hello everyone. So we got another video today. Terrence Howard, actor, I guess former actor, we haven't seen him in a while. I was watching old types of movies as a kid, you know, it's hard out here as a pimp, etc. Realistically, he's been on a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels lately just discussing his philosophy of life. He's been on this for a while. If you go back, he talked to Harvard or some group of young folks about 1 times 1 equals 3 and all the straight lines are not real and etc etc. But today we're just going to review one of his videos like others did as well, and this I'll try my best to explain some things, and in general it's just entertaining. I find it entertaining. I have it in 2x. If that's a problem, so we know in the future I'll put it in 1.5.
All waves are expressed in curves. It always makes violence.
So because of the concept of gravity, and because of the concept of this event horizon, this super point of gravity, this infinite point that light can't even escape, that this exists because of the
their
theory
math
of gravity.
and their math. Remember, they have a thing called zero. They go from 1 to 0 to
Right.
-1. There is no zero to even think zero.
So do you think that zero is a concept that came along with currency?
It should be attached to currency in that regard, because in physics, it's either nothing remains still. There's nothing still in the universe. There's nothing that doesn't have motion because everything is connected. So if one thing is still, everything that's connected to it has to be still. There can never be one thing still. So as electricity tries to get to its balanced state, right when it gets there, magnetism takes over, it pushes over. So there's this pendulum. And as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas, and it makes its way all the way back over here, and it's about to have equanimity, and then it gets pulled back into the other direction. And that's the breathing in and breathing out and the pendulum effect that we've all observed in natural phenomena in the universe.
And that's a part.
I remember just like watching a quick little video. Someone comment below the true reason, but I remember it was someone stating it was like the reason it's number 1 is because, and these are I believe they were Muslims back in the day that invented numbers, if that's the thing. But realistically, it was just based on the angles. So 1 has 1 angle, 2 has 2 angles, 3 has 3 angles, 4 has 4 angles, etc. You can see like a square in them or a triangle in them, but it's just the angles. So yeah, I don't know.
Part of everything.
Everything behaves that way. Every one of our cells. It comes down to our cells are made up of water. Mostly water, 80%, 90% water somewhere. Water is hydrogen. Hydrogen has 12 vortices. That's behaving with it. 12 opposing vortices.
So what, in your model, what happens to these suns when they supernova?
Everything gets old and die.
Everything gets old and die. And does everything recompress?
Has to. If you breathe out, what happens to that air? Another plant breathes that air in.
So would this be the universe itself? Would it be galaxies? Would it be
Everything behaves the same way.
So as the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand, they go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point they come back.
Well, at a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars and
So like waves colliding.
yes,
and
from the
retreating.
other star systems. They have an expanding. What is the thing of the solar wind? They have expanding solar winds. So when they meet our star meets the solar wind from another star at that end of that spot. Now there's 2 pressure conditions. So you have another Lagrange spot that's happening there. That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit, and if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric. So they, instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts.
So does this account for stellar nurseries?
Yes. All of these things are just pressure conditions hitting each other.
So stellar nurseries are vast, dense regions of gas, mostly hydrogen, dust, and space, where new stars are born. These cosmic nurseries from inside molecular clouds, also called nebula, which collapse under gravity to create protostars, eventually igniting nuclear fusion to become full-fledged stars. My apologies if I mispronounce any of these words. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just like reading. Let's see what else we got here. How do scientists study them? Infrared and radio telescopes penetrate dusty regions. They use the James Webb Space Telescope. That's pretty cool. Model test theories of gravitational collapse and feedback from young stars. They use as simulation models. Okay, back to the video.
And they're causing that. That's where the Birkeland currents are running through, those higher electrical fields. But everything in the universe is just electricity. And we call it magnetism when it's devitalized, but it's still electricity. We call it the radiative side is the feminine side, and the contractive side is the positive, masculine side. It's a balance, and it's never been anything but that balance, and we've complicated it with a lie.
If you're right, so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. Well, the universe backs me up, and I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have.
Pens mean nothing. I don't know why he keeps bringing up his pens. They're not wrong. It's like back to the flat Earth conspiracies. He just keeps saying that NASA and this is wrong, this is wrong. He's even against Tyson, the scientist. This guy's all over the place. I don't understand how his wife is not embarrassed to have him out here disrespecting his family's name. But anyways, there's no way him and himself and his 3 friends that read a book. Just like the flat Earth, they all come from a video and books. He read a book and watched a couple of YouTube videos, and now he thinks that he's smarter than a scientist that devoted their whole life to knowledge.
Have introduced a new form of flight with unlimited mid-air bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what we've done. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself into the divine space. Because that spirit is waiting. It's just like, okay, are you going to make yourself available for it?
So let me ask you this. If I had a magic wand and I allowed you to not just show this, but allowed all of these people that have these opposing ideas, you debate them, you duke it out, you emerge victorious, okay? With this magic wand, and now people go, just listen to Terrence. What do we do?
Well, Ben, now we write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations. Now we adjust our understanding of our physics to fit natural phenomenon. And then we are in balance with it, and we have to let go of the idea of this currency. We're the only creatures in the known.
I'm sick and tired of hearing he's a word salad. He just tries so hard to sound smart. When you go actually listen to a scientist like Tyson, any very intelligent person, they don't use these word salad. It is hard to hear, man. When someone's trying their best, I don't really care for it. You're honestly more of an intelligent individual if you can just break it down to a child. That's something that a scientist can adhere to. You know what I mean? Like, if you can spend your whole life focusing on something and then you can come back and just teach it to normal folks, that's crazy. But he's just trying his best. Like conjugations, and these are all just, they're just random words in a blender, and he's spitting it out, and hopefully Joe Rogan's grabbing a couple of them, and the audience that don't really care to research. It's still entertaining to a certain degree if you're just smoking and chilling, but it can be very dangerous to have this type of information out there and not checked. Not saying that I am.
Known universe that uses currency. They use it as an indirect form of payment instead of a direct exchange. We have to get past that point, and that's the hard thing, because this entire world is run on that, and that's where the 1 × 1 = 2 came into its real birth.
Well, the thing about currency is it's connected to technological innovation because of this unlimited potential for growth. And when you have an unlimited potential for growth, you have people that are extremely motivated.
Okay, so Howard's claim, assertion that 1 × 1 = 2 conjugates basic math. Multiplication is repeated addition. Neil deGrasse Tyson debunks this, stating Howard's thesis is false and lacks mathematical rigor. Square root misunderstanding. Howard claims just all this stuff, man. But it's just meaningless jargon. He's just trying to reinvent the wheel. I would highly recommend you guys just go watch Tyson's video, breaking it down, and he really just breaks down this, because every claim is its own video in itself. I can just give you a quick little 30-second spiel on it, but yeah, I really highly recommend you guys to every little thing he says, look into it a little bit.
To make massive amounts of money, and they innovate in a very high way, and then they also implement that innovation in the form of technology.
But their technology is antiquated compared to mine. There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have.
That's not true. That's why you only have patents. Most of this stuff are all pointless. They don't serve anything, and I don't think you would be yapping away on a podcast if you truly had power. I think you would just be in the dark telling someone to do exactly what you're doing to yap away. People in power and people have money are usually quiet. It's only the ones that seek attention. He seeks attention and doesn't have power and doesn't have money. He should have used all his intelligence to focus on his contracts, man. I feel bad for him though, because he did get underpaid. Like, his movies were good. I wish he just used his intelligence on that, got more money. A lot of people got played, a lot of actors got played and get paid well. But let's continue on. See what else he has to say today.
Because you can't outdo the fractal.
How many people have you? I know you spoke at Oxford about this, but you didn't speak.
Yeah, they didn't. Oxford did something that broke my heart. 5 minutes before the presentation, they wouldn't allow me to have a screen and show my proof.
Why?
Oh, the computer was down. And I was like, well, you use my computer. No, we have sensitive things attached to it. I just need the projector. I don't need anything else. Because they didn't want me to go and talk about this. And that's why I went out there and said, hey, pull out your calculator. I talked about acting for a couple minutes, for 20 minutes. And I was like, pull out your calculator. And
this is the calculator thing he does a lot. He just makes you add a bunch of numbers, and then it's supposed to equal something. And it's like, he does this a lot to, like, I'm almost certain he probably practiced this like 100 times, because he's an actor, You do something enough, you'll get good at it, and then you can just baffle people because it's the first time doing it. You might have stumbled your first time.
But you enter the square root of 2 in there, and let's walk through this loop.
Square root of
That is the square root of 2. I was like, let's walk through this, where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2.
Square root of 2 cubed.
And then when you divide it by 2 and cube it again, you get back to you take the square root of 2, 1.414213562373095. You cube it, it's 2.828427121746190. Divided by 2, you get back to 1.414. Cube it again, is back to 2. Same value as we had in the very beginning. That's a loop. That's x cubed being equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation. And every quantum mechanics and quantum physics equation has that square root of 2 in there. We've been living in this lie, this fostered lie for so long.
And what's the solution to that?
The solution is learning how to multiply volumetrically, how the universe multiplies. And I've already produced all of these things.
Could you explain that, though, to the layperson? How does the universe multiply volumetrically as opposed to the way...
It does not move, does it linearly. It does not walk on. All of our math is based upon a two-dimensional projection. What they do in calculus, they will reduce the action of all things. They'll keep trying to reduce it down to one moment because they believe Newton's first law that everything moves in a straight line, or everything.
Okay, so he's basically saying that there's no straight lines, which is false.
Is still until acted upon. They forget that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion is a necessity.
Straight lines aren't fake. Think of a ruler or a laser beam. Things can move straight unless something bends them, like gravity or a turn. Also, think of it like a laser in a water. If anyone's seen those videos where they put a beam of laser beam on a faucet, an open faucet, water's pouring down, and then the beam alters it. It's pretty cool.
They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equations.
And so how, in a practical sense, does this affect mathematics?
Well, once we let go of Cartesian space and the 90-degree angles, well, picture this. Let's take another practical place. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically, where they run.
Why he's wrong. Motion can be linear. Newton's first law states objects move in a straight line unless acted on by force. Geometry, crystals, even curved objects like spheres are made of straight line atomic bonds.
On electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624 miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall? None of that occurs when you go by universal standards. That's all they have to do is follow what the universe does. We have the contractive side, patented, ready and available. We have the expanded side, patented, worked out already, ready and available, and we've got the Constitution between the two of them.
But how does that affect in a practical use? If you're using math on a calculator, what is wrong with what the calculator is saying?
The calculator right now is still saying that we're on a linear path, and it's just multiplying things in a compartmentalized space.
So by reductionist viewpoint, by breaking things down to simple numbers, that you really can't just do that.
You can try to do it, but it's like the piano. Remember the piano, the earlier pianos, they had, before they compartmentalized, and everything was, remember, everything in the universe expands as a sphere. Everything. Even music expands as a sphere. But what they did with the piano is they took all the 12 notes, and then they just started them all over again, instead of accounting for the expansion, that space. So you would never, if you look at the periodic table.
He always talks in circles. It's just like, you have to cut him off. Stop letting him use examples so he can bounce off things. Because as soon as you ask him a question, he doesn't know. He just, look at his face. He doesn't know right now. He doesn't feel confident. Earlier, he had a different facial expression. He was talking about something within his realm. You ask him a question, he doesn't know. He starts using his hands. He starts throwing a bunch of words, and hopefully it lands, and then he'll jump on it. Or something. You know what I mean? Or he'll go back to his toys, if you can see in a minute. He's about to start bringing them up.
You would never get to the titanium or to the rubidium or to the cesium because they would all keep it with just the 7 tones. They don't allow for the necessary expansion, so you don't have all of these other isotopes to use because they keep things here. You don't allow your child, nope, you're not going to get taller. I need you to stay just at 4 feet. That's the height. That's how high you can go. You will not be allowed to grow further. And we naturally keep growing and expanding out. So they have to allow that, but their math doesn't allow it because it believes in a two-dimensional space. And remember, there are no two-dimensional spaces because in order for anything to be perceived, it has to be measurable. And measurable needs 3 dimensions, but it actually needs 4. It needs your perspective. You are the 4th dimension. And that's what Walter Russell also talked about, that it was 4 things coming together. And that's what woke me back up. And I was like 4 bubbles meeting. But he still believed in the idea of straight lines. He was still hemmed in by it. And he's right. There becomes a cube sphere. There comes a point where everything comes together. But even, hold on, I'm going to try and pull up.
Is it because we can create straight lines and we get confused?
We can't create it because even when you look at it under an electron microscope, you'll see all the little curved dots that make it up. There are no straight lines. Like if you look at this,
even in a box.
If you look at this, you'll say, oh, that's a square right there, right in the middle.
Sure.
You'll see that square happening right there.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it from the side, from its real perspective, you see that it's not. The straight lines are an illusion. Again,
cool,
we're being
though.
fooled by our senses because there is no motion in a straight line.
I've seen them, but
So all these homes that they're building.
I just don't see how this is going to be beneficial to anyone. And it hasn't. This video, he's been on this podcast a year or 2 ago, and nothing came out since then. A lot of stuff is just noise, man.
And they keep wondering, why do they keep blowing over? Why don't you make the homes look like a mushroom? Follow the curvature of nature, and you won't have to worry about rebuilding them in hurricane zones or in.
Well, you have money. Why don't you try it out? Just build a house similar to a mushroom. There's even AI robot machines that place cement very slowly. You can build one, shape it, get a big fan, dump a bunch of water, do a little thing. You can even bring him indoor to an Olympic-sized pool and try him out. You test it out. Get it funded. It might be a little entertaining, but it's a cool concept. I'm not saying it won't work. A lot of times nature is right, but what does that have to do with this?
In tornado zones, he'll go right over it. They don't make airplanes that's just a straight box. They've allowed it to be aerodynamic and curved. They moved away from the straight lines.
He always wants to bring up his toys and trying to make a point, and he's always trying to like latch on to nature. Like, you can't, because nature is Mother Nature. You can't. Mother Nature can't be wrong, but you're not explaining Mother Nature right, and you're using it as a weapon, throwing misinformation out.
In that aspect, in boats, they don't have the Noah's Ark moving across. Like they don't do that. Like I said, no man would be attracted to a Cartesian woman, to a Euclidean woman, something just straight like this. We need the curvature, like Alan Watts said. We need the wiggles. We like the wiggles attached to it.
Yeah, that makes sense about homes.
Why do they keep making them flat and they keep getting blown up? I don't know.
They're easy to make.
They're easy to make, but it's easier to make the curved ones. It would be much simpler to do it, but all of our technology is built on these bricks of the platonic solid. So now we have new building materials with what I've introduced. Entirely new building materials that we can use.
People build homes all over the world differently. I'm not saying U.S. is doing it right. I don't like the cheap wood and all this nonsense, but it's different all over the world, So I like the homes that are built within the caves and form with the mountains and the hills. It's almost that you can't tell they're living there, but 2025, it's how people are. We just like to be squished up together. I'll say a couple things. Regarding gravity, Einstein's relativity explains gravity is a space-time curvature proven by GPS satellites and black hole observations. Planetary formations, planets from gravitational collapse of dust clouds and electricity. Center rings are held by gravity, not magnetism. Almost fumbled on my words there. Sheesh. Sometimes that happens. Let's see what else. Let me see what notes I can find. What is I watched this podcast long ago when it first came out. He does cherry pick a lot. He ignores 99% of evidence that disproves him. It's like saying sometimes it rains, so the Sahara is a rainforest. Like, no. Misunderstands cause and correlation. Claims spherical shapes in nature proves its math, but spheres exist due to surface tension, not mystical math. Bubbles around because of soap, not because Terry solved the universe. My shower proves nothing. No. Real science makes predictions. Howard's ideas are basically falsifiable. They can't be tested. Science says if X, then Y. Terry says, trust me, bro. Which one helps build rockets? Yeah, which one helps build rockets? I'd rather go with the science guys. But yeah, we'll just wrap this one up. Just a short clip. Appreciate you guys watching and look forward to my next videos. Probably going back to Flat Earth, maybe occasionally do stuff like this.